everybody. This is video number 3 of my Intro to Alchemizing Duality series. And this is probably the most important video. This is certainly the one where I'm going to let you all into my process a little bit more and give you a bit more vulnerable sharing from my personal process and the impacts of this work that I'm bringing forward. So I've been doing this work with people on balancing their masculine and feminine for some time, and many of you have been in sessions with me, and you may think you've explored all of that energy. But the next 2 modules that I'm going to talk about in the program, which will be modules 4 and 5, are the most important part of this program, and they will include work that I've never brought forward anywhere else. Modules 4 and 5 will be focused on the shadow and integrating those darker aspects of us, as well as in our next module, we'll focus on sacred relationships. And the reason why those 2 modules are so important, and I'm sharing new information that I've never brought forward anywhere else, is because it's actually time. It's time for us to move beyond the duality that exists within us. That's not just that masculine and feminine balance. That's actually the easy part, to be honest with you, identifying those energies and moving through that. That's stuff that I take people through quite a lot, and we'll be going deeper into that and understanding that more. But modules 4 and 5 are the secret sauce of this program. And one of the reasons why it's going to be so potent is because even if you've done shadow work before, even if you've worked on relationship energy before, we're doing this in a sacred container. And so let me first explain what that means. So this course is not just a normal course. When I put these courses together, I split them up over generally a 2-month time period because I'm creating a container of healing energy for everybody that attends. And that energy is something that you can't get when you're doing one-on-one work. It's something that you can't get when you're doing work on your own, because we are co-creating something. Everybody brings their intentions to that container. They bring their vulnerability to that container. And through being witnessed in that vulnerability, we all heal. And that doesn't mean you have to share everything. It doesn't mean you have to share anything, but just by being a part of the container, there is an opportunity to go deeper into work that maybe you've touched on in the past. And to be supported in that in a way that maybe you've never been supported before. And the work that we're going to do in the shadow module and in the sacred relationships module is really, really deep. In the shadow module, we're going to drop into the things that keep us up at night, into the things and the parts of our personality that we're not proud of. We're going to go deep into that work, but we're going to do it in such a supported way that it might take you 6 years to get through the amount of shadow work that we're going to do in one module in this course. And I have some new practices that I'm going to be bringing through in working with the shadow as an equal. Because remember, we're alchemizing duality here. We're bringing unity into the parts of us that have been separated. And oftentimes those shadow elements of us have been so separated out because of the negative self-talk that we carry, that we miss out on the power and the purpose that is available to us in that shadow part of us. So if you don't know what shadow work is diving deeply into the parts of us that we're not proud of. And those are the parts that we normally push to the side and we try to pretend like don't exist. But here's a secret. When we start to bring that energy forward and we start to feed it what it needs, and we start to heal it, and we start to transform it and alchemize it, we learn that those aspects of our shadow personality are the key to our success here on this planet. The shadow components of me are what make me really good at my work. But it wasn't until I adopted that energy and brought it in and loved it and caressed it and alchemized it into something new, and really brought those parts of me that I had pushed away back home, that I started to step deeply into my purpose-driven work on this planet. Everything else that I was doing before that was just child's play. So if you have a deep desire to make a difference, if you have a deep desire to get out of that job that you hate, if you have a deep desire to get out of that relationship that's not working for you and find a good partner, this is important work. because those elements that we've pushed to the side will get louder and louder and louder until we learn to bring them in, until we learn to love them, until we learn to work with them at a deep level. And so inside this sacred container, within this group, within this program, we're going to do some deep healing work. And yes, there will be stuff that comes up. It will be challenging at times, but it's worth it. Because if you keep pushing the rock, if you keep pushing it down the hill and you keep pushing it out of your field, you're not going to be able to move forward. This is important work now. And what I'm noticing is that a lot of people have, within this pandemic experience that we've moved through, they started to do some deep work and then they hit a snag and they got stuck. And so that's why I'm offering this program right now. I'm offering it at the end of this experience, at the tail end of this pandemic experience, because this is what we need to come out of the darkness. This is what we need to come and transmute and alchemize that darkness back into light, back into truth, back into passion, back into creativity. There's a reason why after every pandemic, like what we just experienced, there's a rebirth, there's a renaissance, there's a creative explosion. But we can't harness that creative potential and that energy if we haven't done this shadow work, because that shadow is going to come in and say, who are you to do that? How dare you do that? And so that's why this work is so important right now. And in the next module, we're going to drop into sacred relationship work. And let me explain what that is. So, sacred relationship is any relationship where we're doing deep growth work, any relationship where we're all in, any relationship where even if we're afraid that we're not going to be fully met and fully supported, we're still showing up 100%, maybe 1,000%. And isn't that the kind of relationship that you want? I know that personally, I have said for many, many years that I did not pull the relationship card in this lifetime. And that is the biggest cosmic joke I have ever said to myself. Because the reality is, even though I have a lot of long-term relationships and I've been with my partner for a very long time, like 15 years, we were together for 9 years before we got married, I still pulled the relationship card because we grow through relationship. And I thought that I was really good at relationship until I started doing this work. I thought that I knew what it was to show up for somebody until I started doing this work. I thought that I knew how to be supported by other people until I started doing this work. And so in the sacred relationship module, we're going to explore things and inner child wounds that keep us from showing up, that keep us from going all in, that keep us from being supported and met by our partner, or keep us from attracting that partner in the first place. And sacred relationships are how we transform. They are deep and they take us to the edge, right? But there's so much growth and there's so much excitement and there's so much creative potential that is possible in those relationships. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships here. These are friendships, these are business partnerships, these are work colleagues, right? These are deep relationships that you can get into with people on any level and have growth happen and be amazed at how supported you are and how seen and how heard you are. And in this module, we're going to start to pull back from the parental archetypes that our inner child has been attached to on that masculine and feminine side, because those parental archetypes, however your mom and your dad showed up, there's likely betrayal energy in there. There's likely abandonment energy in there. There's likely rejection energy in those relationships, because parents are doing the best they can, but there's always things that happen to us as children that make us show up in relationship in a way that isn't in our highest light. And so generally when there's conflict in relationship, it's coming from that inner child level. And we cannot be fully met, we cannot be fully seen in relationship until we do this work. And I'll be honest with you all, I know I'm always honest with you all, but I'm going to go deep into honesty here. This is really important work for me personally, because I have seen the impacts in my own relationship with my husband. I have seen how when I did not lean into my feminine and I was afraid to trust my own masculine, that I projected all of that onto him. I've seen where I have had betrayal energy from my father and his misdeeds when I was a little girl, and projected that onto my partner and projected that on to other people in my life. I've seen how my own wounds of feeling unnurtured and unloved at different points in my life by the feminine, by my friendships, have been projected onto my female friends that I'm really close with these days. And I have seen how it affects people around me when I don't go all in, and how they can't go all in with me because I'm not showing up either. And I want to deeply express to you all that you deserve to be in sacred relationship. You deserve for all of your relationships to be sacred. You deserve to go deep with the people that are in your life, because if not, why bother? Right? I mean, don't you have a craving to be seen and heard? Don't you want to be recognized for all that you are? But you can't receive that in relationship if you haven't done this work to balance these energies within you. That's the first step. That's why we're starting with bringing in the masculine and the feminine in a healed way. And then we're going deeper as we extend into this program, into these other modules, to unpack anywhere where we would block those perfect, beautiful energies as they come in. And so my vision for this work and why I'm bringing this forward and why I'm so passionate about it is not only because of the impacts that I've seen in my life, but I watch people show up in misery to my sessions because they don't have somebody to be their partner. They don't have a friend, they don't have a connection, and they feel like an outsider. And that's a story that they've been carrying since they were a little person. And I want to help people heal that. And I want to do it in a sacred container where we can support each other and we can see each other and we can hold each other in the highest regard, and not validate, because we can validate ourselves, but just witness transformation. And that's why I bring these programs together. That's why I create these containers. That's why I bring in extra practices in between the live sessions. That's why I bring in the Facebook group and these communities that we're able to create so that we can be seen in this. Because when we're willing to be witnessed in our transformation, it expands exponentially. And to me, that is why we're here, right? We've spent the last year in isolation. And I know this is an online program and you're like, gosh, how am I going to connect with people? But trust me, it will happen, right? This container that I'm creating is going to provide that connection if you're craving it. And it's not that anybody is going to do the work for you. You still have to show up and do it, but we're going to do it together. We're going to witness each other and know that we're not alone in it. And in my own sacred relationship with my partner, I can be honest that it's been really challenging as I've embodied this divine masculine and feminine, because that is not what our relationship was founded in. In the beginning of our relationship, we trauma bonded and we were codependent, right? And so we've both had to learn what it looks like to come into our own balance and our sacred feminine and our sacred masculine, and come into sacred union in our own individual selves so that we can begin to hold that space for the other person. And this is still in process for us. We're expanding on this work every day in our own relationship, but I want to share with you all what I've learned. I want to bring these teachings forward, and I want to activate these energies for you so that you can experience just a little bit of that beautiful, blissful energy of what it feels like to be fully seen in relationship. I think that's why we're here. I don't think we're meant to do this work alone. I don't think we're meant to go off in a cave and complete this work in isolation, right? That's why I'm creating these containers for us. So if you're at all called to this, I encourage you to join us. I encourage you to step in to the sacred container that I'm creating with these beautiful people that are showing up to do this deep work, and to be held in that and to be loved in that, and know that there's so much energy that I'm bringing into this. There's so much love. There's so much that's gone into this over the last 6 months, year, probably the last 6 years as I've been preparing to teach this very important course. And I embody it, right? I'm embodying it. I'm bringing it forward. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be vulnerable with you. And we're going to have deep conversations about this. So I hope that that speaks to you. I hope that that calls to you. I hope that explains a little bit more about modules 4 and 5. I'll also just mention real quick before I close that there's a break in this program. There's an integration week between modules 3 and modules 4. And it's very interesting, the timing of this. And I just want to tell a quick little story to close up this video. So last year, before the pandemic began, I spent time in Sedona. And Sedona and Arizona in general, and the desert in general, is a very healing place for me. It's where I'm able to drop into my sacral and my root chakras and ground into the earth in a way that I just can't do in the city, that I just can't do in the mountains where I grew up. It's a deeper connection. And this time, in February last year when I went through a round of fear clearing, a deep, deep fear clearing. And then I got back, and a week later, the pandemic began. And I understood that I went on that trip to do deep work to clear energy on behalf of the collective. Well, during our integration break, the way my schedule has worked out, I will be in Arizona again. And so I'm taking all of you that join me in this program with me. And I know that as I walk on the desert and as I connect with the energies there, I will be clearing some of this shadow work and some of this inner child work, which all lives in the sacral and the root chakras, as I'm there. And the way that my process works, for better or worse, because I'm an empath, is that a lot of stuff clears through my body, right? I ask for as much ease as possible, but when I'm holding these sacred containers, I am a conduit of source energy. I'm a conduit of energy that is being released out to all of you to activate you. And so when I go to the desert, not only am I going to be clearing and releasing, but I'm going to be being activated and initiated into another round of openness in my own inner child, in my own shadow, in my own sacral and root chakras. And I've already been told that that's why this trip has aligned at this time. I'm also going to be celebrating my birthday while I'm out there. It's a big chapter closing of what we've all been through in the last year. And so that's why this program is happening now. So if you're busy and you're like, I don't know if I have time for this, this is maybe the most important thing that you can do right now to close out your experience from the last year. Because our nervous systems and our bodies have been through so much, and so much has come to the surface, but it's time for that to go. It's time for our renaissance. It's time for our rebirth. So I hope you will join me, or consider joining me and joining us for this program. I've got one more, at least one more, I think just one more video to share with you next week. If you have any questions, email me. There will be a link to the landing page underneath this video. And I just really hope you all will join us on this amazing journey of healing that we're going to move through this spring. Have a beautiful day, and thanks for watching.